partnering with digital media company Refinery29 this morning for a new series about millennials called My Generation. They're people who were born between the early 80s and mid-90s. They make up the largest living generation, bigger than baby boomers and Generation X. Their money, their attention, and their votes are all in big demand. Identifying millennials is complicated by a divide within the generation. Their formative years were split by the financial crisis, smartphones, and social media. Bianna Goladriga met some millennials to get their reactions to stereotypes about them. Bianna, good morning.
Oh, Norah, I felt so old talking to this group of kids. We brought together a group. They're not kids, actually. They're adults, and they're a group from across the country featuring 3 millennials, aged 30 to 34, and 3 younger millennials, ages 23 to 27. We met them at the New York City bar Porchlight to learn what unites and what divides them. There are a lot of stereotypes. Some are true, maybe some not so true, about what people say about millennials. I'm going to ask you if you agree or disagree. Millennials are entitled.
I agree with that.
Yes,
Agree.
definitely agree.
Why do you agree?
I think we've been conditioned to get used to being comfortable with things coming to us quickly, things being more convenient for us, getting things quicker.
Well, you led me into my next question. Millennials are lazy.
No, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
I disagree.
I disagree with that. I work a full-time job and then I come home and then I run a business.
That's why I think that we're not entitled, is because of that entrepreneurial spirit that millennials have. I think we're one of the hardest working generations because of the country that was left to us. We have to be.
Because our generation, and maybe this is also part of the millennial divide, the younger millennials came into the workforce with more knowledge and expertise in technology and social media. And so they're coming in and thinking like, I deserve more faster.
Did you enter the job market before or after the financial crisis?
After.
Before.
After.
Okay. And how would you say it has impacted your view on your financial situation and your career?
It has made me extremely driven because when I first entered the workforce, there were very limited jobs. And so I was competing for jobs with older men, like 45 years old. I was in interviews with them. I also think that that is the difference between that maybe entitlement piece that we're talking about, because, and I don't fault the younger millennials for that. They're seeing, 30-year-old men being CEOs and super successful and getting billions of dollars. And so I think that's what they expect.
How many of you still live with your parents or depend on your parents for financial help?
I live with my parents, but I don't depend on them.
Yeah, same.
You don't depend on your parents, but you live at their house. How does that work?
So I pay all my own bills,
Yeah.
but I live with them.
Yes.
Let's move on. Millennials are overly sensitive and need praise.
Now, that's really hurtful for you to say.
You need a tissue? Should we take a moment?
Very aggressive.
Does everyone feel like they need a trophy?
I think it's more of a respect thing. I think that a lot of what we do isn't respected. I think that there's a disconnect with previous generations and us, that there's not a respect for the skills that we do on a regular basis that they can't.
Doing a job doesn't necessarily deserve a pat on the back. I mean, you have a job to do and you did it. It's not like a congratulations, you did it. You just did it.
Are you more likely to text or email with somebody or actually talk to them on the phone?
Probably text.
Probably text.
I talk.
It's rude and intrusive to call someone, right?
It's rude to call somebody?
I think that it can be, like, depending on what you're calling for. For example, like I work in a sales job. If I call someone, I feel like they are more annoyed with me than if they can just respond to a text on their own time.
What is your overall perception on younger millennials?
I think overall, younger millennials are very intelligent. I think they are very entrepreneurial. I think that they are entitled, but I don't necessarily believe that that is a bad thing in all cases.
I think younger millennials had it a little harder than us in terms of the constant pressure and comparison from having social media all the time. But I think the challenge is going to be to kind of get better at listening in addition to sort of projecting and personally branding.
Okay, and let me ask the younger millennials what your overall perception of your older peers are.
They have a lot of the qualities that we have, and they have a lot of the qualities that the older generation has. So we can glean a lot from them because of that.
I mean, I agree completely. You guys were like the transitional generation or phase, and you guys are kind of spearheading our whole generation as a whole. So we're just following breadcrumbs, so lay the bricks.
Pressure.
Luke was like our sleeper old soul among the group. While millennials are arguably more ambitious, educated, and informed than generations before them, there is a perception that they are not in a rush to settle professionally. That, of course, can lead to the misperception of being lazy and entitled, one of the questions I obviously asked them.
Yeah, Bianna, thank you. Amy Emmerich is Chief Content Officer at Refinery 29 and is also with us now. Amy, good morning. You guys do a great job. So many millennials love your site, and you really sort of capture the zeitgeist, all cultural, political issues. Where do you think some of these misperceptions come about millennials?
I mean, I think the millennial became a bad word for a hot second because people believed that they were lazy and entitled, but the laziness is really more about self-care. They may not be in an office from 8 to 8, but they are much more about involvement, right? How can they be better with a work-life balance? And I think the entitlement comes with maybe a little, but it's about entitled to be seen and heard. And I think that's where they're really kind of pushing the idea of representation across media and other landscapes.
They're driven by larger concerns than personal concerns?
Yes. Absolutely. But, you know, this generation is one of the most financially literate of many, many generations. But the older set of millennials are much more focused on that long-term planning, home ownership, career, while the younger set is much more about experiences, living in the now. How do I bottle up the now and really drive with my passions?
I agree with Norah about what Refinery 29 does. It's not just for millennials. I think if you want to know what's going on with the younger generation, read your website.
Yeah.
What do you think that they're concerned about that other generations are not, that stands out for you?
I think the societal norms and breaking those down. They grew up with social media. They are allowed to say that what is motherhood, career, relationships is not the way that the generations before wrote those rules. So they're rewriting them across the board. And I think that until that they feel it fits more of who they are, they expect us to all operate with more of a moral value and compass than businesses before. And until they succeed in that, they won't stop pushing.
They changing society?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
They create culture.
Yeah.
I mean, every day through social media, they're doing it faster, they consume it faster, and create more than any generation
And
before
their own
that.
personal brands, I found, are very important to them. And you and I
Absolutely.
talked about this. It's a difference in previous generations.
Yeah.
Amy
And I know
Emmerich,
the
thank you
personal
so much.
brand thing is always baffling to me because I just think you work and do a good job. And I hear so many millennials saying, I'm working on my brand.
All right, Amy Emmerich, thank you so much.